What up, what up? Welcome to episode 10, my live workout series. Today we're going to be doing hip mobility, sort of like the workout last week, but a couple different changes. Want to start with a warm-up, dynamic warm-up, not just static stretching, not just holding a stretch. We tend to do that at the end. The point of a dynamic warm-up is to actually increase the core temperature of the muscles, prepare them for movement. So we want to start with thoracic spine and our lower back. So let's do cat-cow pose. And what we want to do, get 10 repetitions, hold the cat pose for about a good 3 seconds, push your heels to the ground to get a good stretch. And we'll do that for 10 reps. So start right here, and we want to start in table position like this, knees in line with the hips, as far as how spaced out they are, and you're going to push through the heel of your hand up to this position here, and we want to hold that, tuck your chin into your navel, and then I'm going to push my tailbone back and create this natural flexion in your spine. And then we go back up to extension, and we do that 8 more reps. And you want to go inhale through the nose. As you go up, deep inhale, exhale, back down to cow. Two more, let's go. Nice work. So, once again, that's cat-cow pose. You always want to get a good warm-up in before you do any type of activity. Really prepare the muscles for movement. Archer, chill out, bud. Sorry, there's kids running around our apartment complex, so Archer's freaking out. Of course. Come here, buddy. Come here. So, next one, we're going to do what's called lateral flexion, which is basically a side bend. And we're going to do like a step to the side to work the side of the hip. Sort of like a lateral lunge to work some hip mobility. Okay. So to do that, move this up a sec. So you want to take step to the side, and then if I'm stepping to my right here, I'm going to lean back, keep my left leg straight. As I lean, rotate here to stretch right up in here. Hold it for about 2 seconds or 3. Step back to standing. So right leg out, kind of push my hips to the right side, keep my left leg straight, bend over like that. So full speed, it should be like, don't have to bend far, just trying to wake these muscles up in here. I want to do 5 each side, so 2 more on that side. Okay, other side. Step to the side, now I'm stepping to the left, and I'm going to push my hips back towards the left, kind of bend this knee slightly, keep this one straight, and then bend this way. I don't have as much flexibility here, so I have to work on that. So you might see some variance. Step, lean, but it's nice, it'll go all the way down to here. Stretch all up in here. Your lat, a lot of your muscles on your rib cage here, and then muscles that tie in from the back of your body there, and a muscle called the quadratus laborum shoots right up here. That's what we're stretching right there, is quadratus laborum, and the obliques and all the rib cage muscles and a little bit of the lat. So I think I got one more. And a lot of times these muscles get tight and these can be overworked, overactive, the lats, and these muscles can be really tight just from always sitting and having bad posture and not getting work. So things like side bends are good to work those to strengthen them, and then doing some dynamic stretch like this. All right, moving on. We got dynamic hamstring and hip flexor stretch. One of my favorites, actually. Oops, I gotta go down. So what you want to do here is, first I'll explain, like if you just, let's say my hip flexor is tight and, you know, maybe it's limiting my squat or something like that. First thought is to stretch it, right? But if a muscle is already tight, it means it is used to being contracted all the time, sitting, you know, those are flexed, and walking forward. You actually want to work it dynamically, and not necessarily stretch it. You want to work more the opposite motion that muscle moves. So hip flexors flex, you'd want to go into hip extension, which is glutes. So instead of doing like a stretch like this where I hold it, which I would do more towards the end of a workout, if my hip flexor is tight and I'm trying to fix that, or hamstring also, I would want to do a dynamic one. So you want to get in a half kneel position here. And I'm going to lean forward into the stretch. And it'll also help stretch the leg here. This can really help your squat depth and help your back not lean forward as much when you're squatting. And then, so this is the first position. You'll hold that for about 3 or 4 seconds. And then I'm going to push back, activate the glutes, keep this leg straight, feel this hamstring stretch here. So I kind of go up my heel, and then I'd go back into the other. And we want to do 6 repetitions each side or so. You can go 5 to 10, but I'm just going to do about 6 here. Hold this position. Try to keep your back straight, pull your core in. Really great one to warm up the hamstrings, the glutes, the hip flexor, but it can also be used as a corrective exercise to increase the mobility of your hips and kind of help work the hamstring or the hip flexor or both if they're tight. Instead of just stretching a tight muscle, you want to kind of work that, make them stronger. You want to increase the strength in flexion. Okay, so once again, bring your hip forward like that. Hi Paige, how's it going, babe? You want to push forward and then all the way back. So I get a good stretch here. Inhale. Exhale. This can be used as a warm-up for running or any type of activity, really, or as a corrective exercise to help strengthen the muscles in your hips. Feels great, honestly. Get a good stretch up in here and then in the hamstring. So 5 to 10 reps on those. That concludes the warm-up. We want to do first group exercises. We're going to do 2 exercises. One's going to be called the mountain climber to shoulder flexion to thoracic rotation. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, I'll show you that movement. You don't have to worry about the name. And then the second one is a great exercise that's a complex while we're holding a hip hinge. And it's going to work thoracic spine and kind of work on shoulder mobility as well as working the hamstrings to work like hip mobility. We're going to do each one for a minute. Then we get about a 20 to 30 second break. And then we go through it again. And then I have three different groups of exercises for that before we do the cool down. So the mountain climber to shoulder flexion. Requirements for this, prerequisites, you're going to have to be able to do a plank for at least a minute. Comfortably. If not, you can always drop down to the modified position, which would be here. So what we want to do is you want to be in a plank, and I'll start in the right leg so you can see. You want to make sure you can do this. First of all, you don't want to be sagging the hips too much, and you're going to bring this all the way forward. Keep this leg straight, your back flat as much as you can, So my foot's flat here. It's going to keep mobility of the hips here. And then you want to take the same arm that you're reaching, or on the same side of the leg that's forward. You want to reach forward into flexion with your chin down, and then rotate into thoracic rotation. Then we would go back to the plank, and we would change sides. So full speed, it would look like that. So we want to do that. Then we want to do the shoulder flexion and extension. So basically you want to get used to holding hinge position here, and then we're going to have different arm movements, but we'll get to that in a sec. Hey, what's up, Bird Scar? Glad you could tune in, bud. Hopefully the audio sounds good. Seems to be peaking out a little bit, but I got a lot of background noise right now. So, minute each. I'm going to get the timer on my watch going. And we'll start her up. We're going to get fit. Or at least work out today. Alright, so we're going to do a minute. If you can't do this position where you hold a plank, you can actually drop down and do the same thing, just in like a position like that. That'd be modified. But we want to start on the plank, so if you're with me, let's do it. Start here. Bring this forward, and you want to reach forward here and then go into thoracic rotation. Switch sides. Make sure you get a good plant. Don't rush these motions. It's nice and easy. "30 seconds left. We got this." Once again, if you can't do a plank for about a minute, you can drop your knees into table and continue to do the workout. Or if some other reason you can't do it, just switch to the table modified version. 5 seconds. Last rep. I just want to finish this side. Nice. So then we go to another exercise for like your thoracic spine. You want to do like you're going to do a remaining deadlift. You want to hold the position right here. So my weight's more on my heels, a little bit on the middle of the feet, not much on the toes, just because I'm pushing my hips back. That's the first part. You want to hold that position with your arms back here, right? So you should feel your hamstrings and glutes engaged, and your lower back slightly. You don't want to round here. You want to pull your abs in, keep it right there. So that's the first part. Number 1, we're going to spend 10 seconds here. Then we're going to spend 10 seconds with arms out forward. Try to keep this thoracic extension and the hinge in your hips. Then you're going to move them up 10 seconds there. And then when I say W position, you're going to pull your lats down like you're going to do a pull up and go in this W position here while maintaining this. We're going to work a lot of our core there and like the flexibility of your thoracic spine and your shoulders. So let's do it. Start here. Arms back. So you want to go into extension here. Pull your abs in. You don't want to be in a squat or your knees forward. You're like just slightly bending the knee, push your hips back, and then bring them up forward. I like to add a little internal and external rotation with the hand sometimes, but you don't have to. Then we want to go all the way up. That one's going to be tough. You might feel a little pressure in your lower back. We're really working those because we're moving our center of gravity closer, farther away from us. And then we want to go to W position, just like that. You want to squeeze these lats here and then keep holding. And break. So 20 seconds break. And we do that again. So hopefully you guys are with me on that. Thanks to everyone's tuning in. Appreciate it. Hope you guys can get a good workout in today, or watch this another time when you can work out. I know it's kind of late for some people. Cup's invisible. It's kind of spooky. Alright, so back to the first one. It's more like a Spider-Man climber than a mountain climber. But you're going to go here. Well, I gotta move the camera down so you can see. So, move this leg forward, reach your arm forward, and then into a thoracic rotation. Working on a lot of hip flexion here, or hip mobility here with this front leg move here, and then it makes us maintain thoracic spine here. So we're working a lot of the good core muscles. Not to mention, brings up your heart rate a bit, not gonna lie. So we're using this kind of a mobility and strength exercise, but you could use it as a warm-up. I do use this as a warm-up for a lot of my clients because it's dynamic. Last one. Finish up the other side. Cool. Then we want to switch to thoracic. The hinge with thoracic mobility complex. So you like push your hips back there. And we do 4 different motions. Start here. Pull your abs in. Push your arms back into extension. Hold that. Then you come forward. Keep strong in the legs. Don't let go. Push those glutes back. And then all the way up. That's the tough one. And then we're going to go to W. That looks like this. I'm pulling back with my shoulder blades. It helps stretch the chest, and that's the position you want. And relax. Alright, crew, get some water real quick. We'll do one more round. It is a mobility and flexibility circuit, but it is like high intensity interval training. I'm keeping the rest period short. I'm trying to work the full body with each movement. So let's go down back to the first one. I want to call it more of like a Spider-Man climber. To shoulder flexion, thoracic rotation. Don't cheat it. Try to get, stay at each position just for a sec. Control it. You don't want to go too fast. And each time you want to reset your plane, because eventually you'll be up here. And you want to stay down right here. Let's keep going. Nice. So one more set of the other one. Hip hinge. So nice strong on the hamstrings here. Start arms back here and extension. You want to have your hands here like this, or have them facing behind, palms facing behind you, either or. And then have them out front. There we go. have them all the way up. My feet are about narrower than shoulder width too, just because I'm comfortable in there. If you're a little off balance, you can go a little wider and still have the same positioning with your hips. And then we want to go with W. Squeeze those shoulder blades back. I know it burns, but keep that position. Alright, so we get another water break. Then we want to do an ab exercise called toe touches. It's going to work the upper abs and work the core a little bit. And then we'll do a squat with overhead flexion, also known as the overhead squat. Sort of like the position we're doing, but we'll go down into a full squat. So toe touches will be first. And if you guys are just tuning in, we did do like a 7-minute warm up. This is going to be part 1 of this circuit. You're gonna lift your legs up to here. Okay. Now, prerequisite for this exercise, have a decent core and hip flexor strength where you can keep your legs up. And we're gonna do about 45 seconds of work. You want to reach up to about your mid shin. But each time I want you to set your head back down. It actually will help if you have a pillow behind your head or a towel. So I'll reach here. 1, 2. Go back down slow. Control that motion up and control it down. We work the abs here. That's number 1. Then we go to squat with overhead flexion. So a lot of times, if someone does have a good squat, when they go like this, we tend to have an excessive forward lean, or we have to go wider to compensate because our back wants to go forward. So we want to work on the flexion here and then just working it with the squat. So it just changes a little bit. So I'm gonna have my hands all the way up, squat down. Try not to have too much of a forward lean. If that happens, just don't squat as low. And you kind of just work on pushing those glutes back. So that's number 2. So we'll start with the toe touches first. Do it up. Lift them up. We're going to go 45 seconds. Make sure you try to breathe with each rep. Now, if you have a history of lower back issues, you may not want to do this exercise. You can do a modified version I'll show you after. I also would suggest doing just a plank. That was in the workout last week instead of doing this to work your abs without having any movement in the spine. That will be less likely to aggravate your back pain. There we go. And break. So overhead squat. Arms are going to be up. You want to push your hips back. Get to so your knee is in line with your butt and back up. Okay? And if you can't get all the way down, like if you get to here and you feel yourself forward leaning, I just want you to work in that range before that forward lean comes. Okay? And let's do it. I know it burns. Keep going. Keep those arms up. Sucks for me too. 10 seconds. We got this. Have your feet about shoulder width apart. Try to have your toes forward though. Break. So we get a 30-second break. And then we're going to do set 2. Just try not to sit down like me. You want to walk around a little bit if your heart rate's up high. And since I'm talking and working out with you guys, it's make my heart rate go up even more. Cool. Let's do it. Toe touches first. Back to the ground. Let's do it up. So, feet here. Oh, let me show you the modified. If you can't do that, I want you guys to do 45 seconds like this. A plank. And you could also do just a little bit of a crunch like this. Barely go up, but you hold it there, and you set your head back down. So, but we're going to do this one. Let's go. Ten seconds. Let's go. If it burns, keep going. Let's do it. One more. Nice. So then we do squat with overhead flexion. So arms up. Want to do a full minute here. It's gonna suck. Let's do it. Toes slightly wider, or toes pointed forward, hips slightly wider than the shoulders. Don't go too low. Okay. Just go right where your hip is at about the height of your knees. $30 seconds. Keep those arms up. If you absolutely need to rest them, just put them down for 5 seconds, bring it back up. Last rep. Alright, get a 30-second break. Thank you for the follow, PJ Pizzle. I saw it earlier, I just got distracted. I apologize. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely check out your channel later. So we want to do one more round of those toe touches. Then we got the squat overhead flexion. And then that'll give a perfect amount of time for the last 2 exercises. And then a cool down with it. That'll involve like a stretch or 2. Alright, so lift them up here. 45 seconds. Go. Exercise is fun. I'm a big believer in exercise being a great way to relieve stress and anxiety, though. From a personal aspect, I definitely believe it does, as well as scientific evidence to support it. There's a reason, everyone always told you, like, oh, exercise is good for your heart, it's good for your body, it's also good for your mental health. There we go. So definitely stay active. That's how I do these workouts. I want everybody to be able to move on a weekly basis. You know, you're supposed to get 30 minutes a day of physical activity 5 days out of the week as a minimum. And that's a gold standard, you know, in the health industry. So being an exercise science and kinesiology kind of expert, it's my duty as a health professional to like give you guys a way to move. So that's what I'm doing with these. And I have a lot of other workouts that involve like light weights and stuff like that. But lately I've just been doing all body weight stuff to show you that it can still be intense and we can work on mobility at the same time. Help you guys move better. And then we got the squat. That'll be the last one. And we got one more group of exercises. Let's do it. Arms up. Remember to push those hips back. If you can't squat really low without leaning forward too much like that, then just work on doing like a half squat. Okay? Let's do it. Ten seconds left. Stick with it. You got this. Don't let yourself lean too far forward, otherwise don't squat as low. You know, if you feel it, just start doing half reps like this. One more. Nice. So that's gonna be it for those. And what we want to do is do a cool like mobility exercise that'll actually help us cool down a little bit, and then pair it with bird dogs with thoracic extension. So basically this right here into that. So you're going to be in a table position for the bird dog right here. Now you've probably seen me do them before. Legs stretched out, arms stretched out, opposite sides. I usually just have you to hold that. What we're going to do is do that, and I want to be able to balance on my existing limbs on the ground, fold into this position, and if you can, touch your elbow to your knee, but you might not be able to. Just tuck it in this position here, and then bring your hand back out and your leg back out like that, and repeat. And we want to do 30 seconds each side. That's going to work thoracic extension in the lower back, as well as the glutes to help increase the mobility of your glutes, which can help with imbalances if your thighs are like a lot more strong. That's an imbalance if your hip flexors and your thighs are stronger than your hamstrings and your glutes. So we want to do that for the same order. The internal and external rotation is the next one. So this one's kind of cool. Shut up, watch. Now I've done this stretch before. Ankle in line with the knee, and then your knee is in line with your hip here. So it makes like a 90-degree angle with both your legs. Now this should be a stretch in its own. Okay? And this one's matching. And they're sort of lined up too. So I can draw a straight line from this ankle all the way up to this ankle. So you hold that, you push your legs into the ground. There should be a stretch on this leg here. And what we want to do is lean forward while you're pushing your hips into the ground still. And we want to hold that 10 seconds. And then I'd have you transition to hands behind you. And then keep pushing your hips into the ground. And that's going to just work on mobility of your hips and work on some flexibility and also help us cool down. So then we would basically do the other side as well. But when you transition to the other side, you want to be able to sort of go like that. Don't move your hands, just try to move your hips. That's kind of an advanced motion, so if you can't do it, no worries. But that's what we would do to transition. So starting with the bird dog, that one's not too bad. Do it for 30 seconds each side. So, hand out front, leg back, and then you go to here. Switch. Change sides for me. Take that first one, hold it in a little longer so you get your balance. This also helps work balance and your rotary stability, which is basically like your left and right brain. Communication, coordination. And it's going to really help our flexion. Make sure you straighten your leg all the way. So we work on that extension of the hip. So that's a minute there. And then we want to do the hip motion. So get your whips like this. And we want to start by leaning forward. 10 seconds here. Then we want to move back to here. Hands behind you. Get a nice stretch up in here. Okay, so if you can, we want to do it one more time. And then we want to try to switch to the other side after we do it. This one you should feel a good stretch on the left side, the knee, the leg that you're leaning towards, kind of on the back part, on the side of your back, down into where the hip goes, and then this back side too. Okay, then we want to move back here. And remember, I'm still pushing my hips and my knees into the ground. Okay, so I want to transition to this way. So you can see. So there we go there. I want to lean towards the front. Push your hips into the ground. There we go. Hold that. And then transition behind you. If you can't get your hands flat, you can be up on your fingertips. But if you can get your hands down, that'd be great. And then move forward again. Try to go a little farther if your body will let you. And one more time back here. So that can be used as a good static stretch, as well as mobility exercise. I'm using the Samsung G-Track Pro. Samsung G-Track Pro. So it's like my desk mic. But yeah, it's supposed to capture my real voice and everything. Good bass. So then we want to go back to the bird dog. And go ahead here. Make sure you fall into your navel and almost pull your abs in when you get here too. But if your hip, back to what I was saying earlier, if your hip flexors and hamstrings are tight, this is another great exercise to work. First of all, extension, which is this motion right there. I kick back. And flexion. So that can really help improve your squat mobility, but how you move in general. Oh, we gotta switch. Yeah, I was talking too long. It could also be used as a warm-up exercise. So 20 seconds. Make sure you pause right here. Don't rush through it. One more. Sweet. Awesome. So then what we want to do is get a cool down in. You can do that a third set if you want to, but I just had 2 planned. It can be a lot of stretching if you're not used to it. So we're going to skip the 90-90 internal external rotation, the hip one, and we're just going to do a third set of the bird dogs and then do a cool down stretch. So about 10 more seconds here, and we'll do one more round of the bird dogs. Are you with me, fam? You still with me? We gotta cool down. So, here. And switch. Sweet. So then we want to go to a cool down. And I got a nice little spot set up for that for you guys. A little cool down scene. Sorry, you can see a little bit of the floor, but whatever.